Now, welcome to another Let's Talk Some Mando. This time it is the 5th episode of Season 3, also known as Chapter 21, also known as the Pirate.
Yar.
Perfect. All right, so let us begin once again with your ever so brief review of this episode.
I think this is going to be one of my favorite ones so far for the season. I loved all the cameos. Yes, there were multiple. People didn't notice. We had Deborah Chow was in there. Rick Fawajima was in there. Of course, we had Stephen Bloom was in there.
You
Great
mean Zeb.
stuff. Yeah, of course I mean Zeb.
Yeah.
The Zeb of it all. But
Dave Filoni, too. You missed the hat.
Yeah, Filoni.
His hat was in there. It
Filoni's-
cameoed.
Filoni's hat cameoed. Favreau did not. Kind of funny. I liked how they tied together some of these really mismatched plot threads we seem to have going on. They brought us back to Coruscant so we could kind of see what Elia Kane is doing under the scenes. They brought us back to the pirate plot line, which we swiftly dealt with.
Or the
showing
Mandalorians did.
Mandalorians as cool.
As
They
a
continued
fighting
bo-katan's
group, yeah.
story. Whether that continues in this show or her own show, we will find out.
Yeah, I agree about the Mandalorians actually looked formidable in this episode. It wasn't a giant creature, so they were able to handle it.
And handle it they did.
Yes. All right, so now it's time to get to everyone else's comments on this video, starting with, of course, the top-rated one from my review over on the other channel.
This comment is from Derek Lopez. Zeb's cameo at the beginning of the episode gave me a nod. He was really a fun character in Rebels. For his first time in live action, he honestly looks way better than the Grand Inquisitor from Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
He's by far the best transition from... I mean, not that there's like a ton of them, but by far the best transition from animation to live action. He looked really good.
Well, Ahsoka looked good too.
In a different sort of way, because...
But you're talking about a character that's clearly an alien, that
Yeah.
harder to transition.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Ahsoka is technically an alien to Grogu. She's an alien, I get that. But, I mean, Zeb you thought would have been like, oh, they're going to butcher Zeb. Zeb's going to be like this purple blob on screen.
I liked how he looked really good when you compare him to Jedi Fallen Order's Jarl T'Pol.
Yeah.
He looked very similar in design and makeup, and it's almost like they imported the character from...
I know, like, it was so strange. He looked so good. I was like, is that Zeb? I know, I could tell the voice and everything, but I'm like, nah, it can't be Zeb. Zeb's going to look terrible. They're gonna screw that up. It was such a
definitely a
strange...
Lasat.
Yeah, we both had that same reaction. Like, is that Zeb? Is that really him?
As soon as we heard him talking, I'm like, that's him.
Yeah,
I'd
it's gotta be
recognize
him.
that voice. Plus, they were like playing the kind of music you like.
I know,
in the
that was
bar.
like the
bass.
rock music kind of thing at the beginning, yeah. Which we've heard in like Fallen Order as well too, that same kind of
rock type metal.
Yeah.
But
Star Wars rock.
no, not
Not
so.
no, not Jedi
Not
rocks.
Jedi rocks.
No, different. Very different.
Very different. But he looked good. He sounded great. It was a win. I wonder.
Oh, absolutely win. I mean, I crossed my fingers that they didn't pour all their resources into this one appearance and he's going to show up in Ahsoka and look like a purple blob.
But in Ahsoka, is he going to be able to go with them? I mean, he clearly has a job.
I don't think he's going with them.
But they might visit.
Yeah, I certainly think he's going to show. I think we get a Rebels reunion at some point, right?
I
I gotta
don't
learn
want
gotta learn
there to
something
be.
from the sequel trilogy about people wanting reunions, but anyway, yeah, I think we see him again, but I don't think he's gonna be like featured in Ahsoka.
It's crazy to me to believe they could do a character better by doing like pretty much a full CGI mock-up than they could by putting somebody in the makeup.
Oh god, they should just cut off the Grand Inquisitor's head and go full CGI on it. Just whatever. I hate to always go
So
back to that one, but
ridiculous, because they've done them in live action before.
and they look so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just looked bad all around. You just watch Revenge of the Sith and you see how tall and lanky they are and the face is elongated and just looks different. And then you see it in Rebels and like, yeah, it kind of holds true to that.
Sort of, yeah.
And then you get Kenobi and it's like, yeah, that's Uncle Fester with white face and maybe a
Oh.
couple lines on it and yellowish eyes.
With that, let's move on to our next comment from Mac Welsh. The New Republic Rangers should have fought in this latest skirmish of Navarro, regardless of orders. Watching Zeb fight pirates on the battlefield would have been cool.
First, can I just say, like, I am like the Captain Teva fan. I love this guy. I
He's
don't
a-
even know
he's a
like who he
smart fella.
is. He just kind of he starts showing up for like traffic stops for Mando, and for some reason I'm like, I really like this character. I don't know anything about him.
It's because he
but I
seems
like
like
him.
that honest beat cop.
He does. That's exactly
that
what I think of him.
Grizzled, honest beat cop who's like, you know what? I'm going to try and do my best for you guys. You guys don't always do the right thing, but I'm trying to help you out here.
He's been on the force forever, and he's still doing the good thing, the right
Yeah,
thing.
he is an honest beat cop, and it's nice. I would have loved to see the Rangers show up.
I'm surprised they didn't. I thought that was for sure going to happen.
I don't know. What would happen to them if they disobeyed orders? Would that be the end of their...
I forget the name of this. Delphi Squadron or Alphi Squadron or something like that, yeah.
So it's hard to say. I wouldn't want them to be decommissioned for it, especially seeing as he's like, well, I did find a workaround.
He did find a workaround.
He did. Now the Mandos are going to live there for a little bit until they retake Mandalore someday.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Like, they get a brand new home. Like, this one isn't good enough. Let's go get a better one. Yeah.
Well, I guess if we're going to be accepted, we might as well have our own planet.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm not mad about that, but it was kind of funny. Like, they get a brand new home, and the first thing they're like, we need a better home.
Mm-hmm. The next comment comes from Astrozak. This episode felt heavily influenced by the animated shows. Was a little slow to start, but wow, did the action pick up. Really cool episode.
Yeah, I think Mando overall has a very animated show vibe to it, usually because it's so short.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
I really liked the flow of this episode. For maybe the first time this season, I felt like an episode had really good pacing.
Mm-hmm.
That it felt like from start to finish. Maybe starts a bit slow. I didn't really think so, but I just thought it was kind of the perfect episode in terms of just the structure, the action, some intrigue, maybe some TGoran and Grogu.
What? They're in this?
Sometimes.
But I thought you like when they don't emphasize Grogu, which they did not in this episode.
No, I didn't necessarily say that. I don't have a problem with Grogu. I know everybody thinks I hate Grogu. It's just that I feel like we could have used time away. And this is another episode that's like, yeah, if he was still with Luke, no one would have... It didn't matter at all.
No, he just sat in a cockpit for most of it, or sat and watched, and we saw him watching stuff now and again.
Yeah, they flashed to him during the meeting of, are we going to go help Navarro? He's in the cockpit with Din, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Next comment is from Tedicus Legion 78. Maybe just me, but this was episode 5 of an 8-episode season. With a rewrite, all of this could have easily been done for an episode 3, i.e., Episode 1 is Mando and Bo-Katan going to Mandalore and joining the group. Bo-Katan sees the mythosaur. Episode 2 is them getting accepted by the group / the New Republic side of what's going on with Moff Gideon. Episode 3 is them fighting the pirates and making the decision to go back to Mandalore and find all the other Mandalorians / New Republic, realizes Moff Gideon has escaped. So yeah, I kind of agree that maybe with some better editing, they could have tied these plot points together a little better. We'd be earlier in the season than we are. I mean, we were at the 3 episodes left point already, and I feel like we're just starting.
It feels like, absolutely, as this comment points out, I think we could have gotten here sooner. 3 episodes, probably. What this episode did do, as I pointed out in my review, is it took all those plot points from the first 4 episodes, and it kind of just weaved them together very nicely. I did watch this and think, oh yeah, everything from those first 4 episodes did have a point, and they were relevant. You probably just could have streamlined it. We took the long road here instead of just the direct route. Which, it's not bad if you're, say, the Bad Batch that has 16 episodes to play with. A little different when you're Mando with 8.
Next comment from Sea of Salt. My one problem is the fact that Bo-Katan took off her helmet. I understand it's most likely a political decision to make other clans more comfortable, but I feel it could have been better explained. I agree. Just I'm a child. You're a child of both worlds. I mean, there's still one Mandalore.
It was very confusing because you're like, does this mean other Mandalorians are going to come and be able to take their helmet off and mesh with the ones that don't? We're just kind of like, okay, certain tribes have certain rules, which is kind of what I thought was implied here.
I think she's going to go out and she'll be able to meet with the clans, and I think it's important that Bo-Katan be able to show her face to say, look at me, I'm Bo-Katan, rather than I'm wearing a helmet, absolutely. I'm totally Bo-Katan. I'm just saying. But I feel like once they retake Mandalore, they're all going to get, they're trying to reunite them. I think they're all going to get rebaptized in the mythos. I think the armor actually believes Bo-Katan can really herald this future, especially if the mythosaur does rise when everyone's there.
I guess.
Well, she is a religious leader. We've kind of talked about her that way. The shaman of her people. She has now sent Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan has now received her quest from the armorer.
Yep, everybody gets a quest. She is the ultimate quest giver.
I think with Bo-Katan's experience now with The Way, she's pretty much going out there to knock on some doors and... Have you heard The Way?
I guess my issue with that is, assuming you rebuild all of Mandalore and it's hundreds of years later... I mean, as we saw in Clone Wars, for better or worse, there are a lot of people on Mandalore who are not warriors, right?
Right.
So is everybody gonna just be walking around with helmets on Mandalore someday?
Well,
Population of 100 million, all helmets on all the time.
that's something they're going to have to figure out once they have a big group. The way it works with a small group like it has,
Exactly.
how good does it work when you've got a lot of people is the question.
Yeah. See, I kind of I agree with the comment. It's kind of confusing because you're like, well, what exactly is she going to do? Is she going to convince others to put their helmet on? Because let's be honest, like it's going to be hard. If you got other clans out there, and we know there are other clans out there that don't follow the helmet rule, it's going to take that mythosaur rising out of the waters to even consider putting your helmet on all the time. And who knows if she's ever... I know a lot of people, someone's riding that mythosaur. I don't know about that. I don't know that we're ever seeing the mythosaur again. I mean, it'll be cool. It'll be a spectacular moment, but is it actually going to be ridden by anybody? Hard to say. It might really look kind of cheesy. You know what I'm talking about.
Next comment from Maltodextrin. This episode was super bittersweet. The first 30 minutes were so awesome to watch, everything coming together to fit into place despite every episode feeling like it went in a different direction. At the same time, I have one major gripe. It's almost certain now that the show is no longer about the Mandalorian, about Din Djarin. There was an entire scene that, in my opinion, should have gone to Din that was instead bo-katan's to step into. I'm holding out hope that there will be some big moment where somehow the title of Mandalore shifts from bo-katan to Din, but it seems that so much more work is now being put into readying bo-katan for that role.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are like, well, the Mandalorian never specifically says what Mandalorian. And no, it doesn't. But let's be real. It was meant to be Din Djarin. That's, I mean, I get you can change it, sure. Or you can imply multiple Mandalorians. If it's called the Mandalorian, it could be a new Mandalorian every week that it's about, or whatever.
For all we know, this could be the last we see of bo-katan this season, and she might just have a post-credit of her doing her thing.
Potentially, that would be really kind of... I think she's going to find out who's got Moff Gideon. She's going to stumble into it. She's going to be, I'm going to talk to new or other clans, and one of them is the one that liberated Moff Gideon.
Right,
he certainly remembers me.
There's a couple of theories on this Moff Gideon freedom nonsense. Yeah, I have two theories on the freedom of Moff Gideon. Theory number one, it's all because they've got the Beskar. The Beskar has to be involved. It's in the wall. Theory number one...
It's a whistling bird in the wall.
Why are you giving away my theories?
Oh, is that your theory?
Well, theory number one is that it is actually like some of bo-katan's Mandalorians. That maybe they wanted revenge. Because think about it, the armor was really sounded upset, Armor and Paz, when they found out that Gideon was just going to face a war tribunal. They were like, oh, he's dead, right? Because of what he did to us.
That reminds me of the Padme meme. He's dead, right? Right?
So why not be one of her splinter groups went after him? Okay.
Yeah, I can certainly see that.
They left a whistling bird or something in the wall, a tool, who knows. Theory number two, in Star Wars Rebels, they were the super commandos.
Yeah.
Who were Mandalorians who decided to work with the Empire of their own free will. What's to say there's not some of them left?
Yeah, certainly could be.
And they freed their boss. Which makes sense because they killed the Republic officers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely somebody not so good. That's why I tend to lean towards bad Mandalorians, because I don't think you want to put Bo's previous group in the category of just slaughtering New Republic officers. I don't know. Maybe they do.
Next comment is from Lazarenko93. I was skeptical at first, but this episode pleasantly surprised me. It started with the X-Wing pilot, and I was like, oh, are we going to follow him all episode now? Like the Professor episode?
Hey, what's wrong with Tiva getting an episode?
I know.
Team Tiva.
Not bad, but I wanted story progress. And they did deliver. It had story, action, and mystery. The scene with the Imperial shuttle was really cool, so eerie, and from the first moment I knew it was Gideon's. And indeed, it was confirmed. Another thing I liked, the episode actually showed the Mandalorians as a capable fighting force not to be messed with. And one last thing, I love the sets and costumes this season. It just feels more real than Season 1 and Season 2. Feels more practical for some reason. Looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah, I thought this episode kind of hit on a lot of notes.
Definitely hit on a lot of notes.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty much, again, kind of the perfect episode in some ways. Not like perfect as in, oh my god, this will never be a better episode, but just the way it was structured. I was very impressed. I like the Mandalorians being a formidable fighting force, as we talked about before.
Yeah, because they looked a little incompetent in the first.
Oh, yeah, like I said, as long as it's not a creature, they seem to be pretty good.
Yeah, they didn't do well against the bird. They always gave up.
Yeah. No, they didn't give up. They flew until they ran out of fuel.
Which, how did they get to this planet if none of them have a ship?
I don't know. So they got dropped off.
Instead,
Their mom
the
dropped them
bo-katan
off
shuttle
the mall.
bus has to go. And now that she's left, I guess Din's going to transport them one at a time.
Yeah. But I mean, they were eager to get off that planet. I know a lot of people are like, well, they purposely picked the planet with the creatures. And that might be true. And then they've come to realize, like, oh, maybe we should just somewhere without big creatures. We're just not doing so well against that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another one of those weird questions. Like, how did they get there? Why did they pick that planet? And, like, again, they were eager to, even Paz is like, we can start somewhere new. Because he's like, well, I don't want my son being picked up by another bird at this point.
Well, it's interesting to think that they get to actually mix with people again. We'll see if they choose to, though.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because now they're kind of like, oh, let's step out of the shadows again. Because it's not like Mandalorians have always been like, oh, we hide. Though Din does point out we're pretty good at hiding. Mm-hmm. Unless a droid tattles on us.
Darn droid.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't trust those damn things. Nothing to do with the Clone Wars or his parents being killed by battle droids or anything.
Nothing. All right, let's move on. We got our last comment today from T. Gorian looks to be almost completely practical effects, which is really cool. It could have been done a little better, but it captures the feeling of the OT.
Yeah, the last comment pointed out the practical effects that they've been using a lot. And I agree. I think other than his mouth movement, it kind of looked like a flap kind of just going and didn't really matter. I mean,
yeah.
It is what it is. But no, I like the use of practical effects. I understand they don't always look perfect, but they do kind of harken back to the original trilogy, which didn't always look perfect in the practical department with aliens and stuff. They just looked cool.
I still think it's funny that when he showed up, he hailed, Grief Karga. Yeah. He hailed him. He's Star Trek terming.
Yes, which was jarring for some reason. Yes, you're being hailed.
He hailed him, and then at the end of the message, he's like, don't hail me again unless you're starting. Like, again, you hailed him, buddy. He's like an old person who doesn't know who did you call me or did I call you? I don't know.
All those barnacles got to his brain. Yeah.
Like, he didn't call you the first time.
Yeah.
And he's not calling you again.
He wouldn't have called you the first time. He doesn't want you here. You're not welcome.
You're not welcome.
Yeah, Star Trek terms, like some memory lapses. Yeah, it was
don't call me again.
Some puppetry fail, perhaps. It was an interesting opening, but it definitely got better from there.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. All right, well, that is all we got for you this time. So now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell us what you thought of this latest episode of The Mandalorian and what do you think is going to happen in these final 3 episodes. So whatever you think, leave those comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars, and until next time, thanks for watching.